Okay, so the battery light's not good. I've fitted a new battery to this and it's not charging, so the alternator must be dead. Ignore the ECU light, I know what that is, it's a Lambda Pro. But yeah, so today we're going to change the alternator on my Jazz GD1 or 2 or I don't know what model it is, but it's a Jazz GD. This is going to be exciting. So quite luckily the alternator is located right on the front of the engine. Sometimes they're buried right at the back down there, which is a bit annoying. There's not as much space down there, but this one is there. That's not too bad. If you look down there, you can see, oh, you can't really, but you can. There's the aux belt there. So it runs up off the bottom pulley round the aircon, underneath an idler, and then up to the alternator. If you can see that threaded bar there on the side, there's your tension for your aux belt, which is easy, makes it a bit easier. So first things I think we need to do is we need to make enough space to get the alternator out, which looks like this here is going to have to come off. So we've got one plug and we've got a bolt at the front, a bolt at the back on this pipe here. So I'm going to get those off and get that out of the way, and then that'll give us more space to look at our bolts for alternator, because there should be a big bolt that goes underneath the bottom somewhere, and normally you've got this pinch bolt at the top here, which is, put the light on it, I think it's a 12mm, is it? I think it's a 12mm head on there, which goes in that part there, and through there, and then obviously you need to take your tension off so you can get your belt off. Normally it'd be a good idea to replace your belt and check your idler pulley, because the idler pulley does look a little bit old down there, but I have a £20 alternator from eBay, £22, and I'm just simply going to replace that and hope everything works fine, because there's no squeaks or no rattle noises from the belts or the pulleys, they all seem okay, so I'm going to take it that they're alright and just that the alternator's dead. So when you try to remove bolts that may never have been removed for 16, 17 years, our oldest car is 139,000 miles, sometimes they look a bit rubbish. Just give them a little spray on that, leave it a little while and then come back to it, and with a bit of luck it might make it a little bit easier to come off. So what I did was, there's a bracket here which bolts to, there's the bracket there with these wires on, and it bolts to there with a little 10mm bolt. That bolt there, I took the bolt out so I didn't have to take these clips out, because I always break these clips, so that's now out of the way and free. And I've sprayed some penetrating lubricant onto these two bolts here, so with a bit of luck these will just crack off. These should be a 12. Might have to get that with a deep 12 because this socket's a bit too fat. Yeah, it's a bit of a fat socket. Thinner socket. And then unfortunately, because my ratchet is broken, this one here, I don't even have the genuine Helford's one anymore, it's died a death a long time ago. I have to use like a reducer and use the big ratchet. Yeah, that fits better. So that was that. Now, next thing is we've got this pipe here, which I remove off there. I think it's just a crankcase breather. So we'll just get some little pliers, remove that. I hate these clips, really hate them. I prefer hose clips. Some people might like these clips, I don't. Right, so, okay, so that's off now, so I need to just pull the pipe off, which is going to be stubborn because they always are. And then that's that out the way, and then we will remove these two bolts, lift that completely off the car, and then we can see where we're at more with the alternator, because there is a bottom bolt somewhere that I can't see at all, which is great. It's good news, fantastic. Thanks, Honda. Right, so that's now removed there, which then leaves us with this bracket here. I think that's an EGR, isn't it? It looks like it is. It leaves us with this bracket here, which is also above the alternator in the way. It appears to have one bolt at the top there. I think the other one is underneath it somewhere. Yes, it's down there under there. They look like 12mm as well. So we'll take that whole unit off as well, which should give us a little bit more clearance to pull the alternator out when we get round to that part. Right, so with that removed there, it gives us a lot more room to look at our alternator. We still can't see the bottom bolt, but there is one somewhere. And I'm using the new one as an example as to what it is. So as you can see there, we've got one big bolt that obviously goes through a bracket there. And that's the one on the top that we can get to and see now. So, and it looks the same, hopefully. I hope it's the same alternator and I bought the right part, but anyway, to the side for now. Yeah, so what we need to do next is we need to slacken this bolt here, which comes in from that side there, and then take the tension off the belt, and then slip the belt off the alternator pulley and hope the belt doesn't fall off, and then try and find where the bottom bolt is. We may get away without unplugging the wiring at first. We might be able to move the alternator first, because I'm not going to get to the back wire quite so easily. Right, okay, so 10mm on the front for your tension, see there, and 12mm there. So remove the 12mm there, then it allows us to take the tension off of there. Then we're getting somewhere. Right, so you've got the bottom bolt for the alternator. It's really difficult to show you actually, but it's all the way underneath the alternator down there. See where my finger is, it's kind of down there, underneath it. So the real option is to just get a socket on it and go for it. I don't think it's a pinch bolt with a, I'm hoping it's not a pinch bolt with a nut on the other end. I'm hoping it's actually like threaded. It is, yeah, it's threaded. Threaded the alternator there. So if you make out the threads, zoom. Yes, it's threaded in the alternator, that's good. So it just means that it's going to be quite a long bolt, it's probably about this long. So when we unbolt it from there, you have to pull it out, and it'll come out with a little bracket there that it'll sit on. So when we pull the bolt out, once it's off there, the alternator should, in theory, be completely loose and able to be removed. And we've still got the wiring to look at. I'm going to try and get the wiring off when I've got the alternator loose, because if I can tip the alternator this way up, I'll be able to get to the wiring dead easy. That's my theory. That's if the wiring will move that far. Hopefully it will. We'll find out, because it's very difficult to get at otherwise, because you can't really see, but there's a plug at the back, and then there's also a green plug, well, they're both at the back actually, down there, which I can't really get to very easily. So I think I'll try and get them when they're out. If that doesn't work, then obviously don't do it that way. So that stud is in the way, as I thought it might have been. So I'm going to use the two nuts, lift them together, and then pull that stud out. That should give us a little bit more room anyway, because every time I try and move the alternator, it's just catching on it everywhere. So that'll give us like a little bit more clearance. So we'll get that out, and then we'll carry on. Finally, we got it out. It's very tight to get out because you've got aircon pipe in the way, you've got inlet manifold there in the way, and an engine block in the way, and the ABS pump as well actually is in the way. But it's very tight. It does come out. Give it a little bit of wiggle, it will pop out. So now we've just got that plug there to remove, the green one, and remove that wire there, which will be one of your charge. It'll be your charge wire, and that's your alternator sat on the floor, ready to put your new one on. It's very awkward to work on this car, to be honest. A lot more awkward than I was expecting. But yeah, small bay, small engine, still rubbish. Right, so that there is the part number of the one that I took off. It turns out it's different to that one, which is great news. Yeah, so it physically looks the same. It might just have different amp ratings. This one might actually be higher looking at the numbers than that one. So I will be fitting it anyway as soon as it's here and I need the car to run. So this part number here, if this works, that part number is okay for this car, but that there is the correct one for it. This here was listed as being the correct one for this car, which is a bit annoying because it turns out it's different to the one that was on it. But anyway, one way to find out is to fit it and waste another half an hour to then have to remove it again. But anyway, it's all good fun, isn't it? So yeah, so first off we'll put the plugs on. Bolt that one on, which is a 10mm nut, and then we'll push that plug in, which is a green plug. It goes into there, and then we will locate the alternator. We'll put the bottom bolt through, which is that one there. We won't tighten it up though. We'll get the belt on and we'll get the top slider on. The top slider's there. Put that on first and then we'll nip that up and then we'll start putting everything back together. Sounds simple, doesn't it? So there we go with the flexi joint on. All the way to the bottom alternator bolt. It's the only way I can get to it. I won't tighten up at all any other way, but the alternator itself's actually in and on. The bolt's in, wires are on, and the top adjuster bracket's in. So once this bolt's tight, I can then nip up the adjuster there and then refit all the EGR parts, and that's it. And then it should work, in theory. Although this is the wrong alternator, so we don't know. But we hope it will work, otherwise that's a wasted day. Good times, honest. So to get the bottom bolt back in on the alternator, 12mm head, short extension, flexi joint, long extension, ratchet. Yeah, that was an arse. There's probably a much easier way to do it than the way I did it, but that's the only way I could get it together. Very painful, but it's alright though. I managed to stop and have myself a nice cup of coffee out of a cash mug. That made it all a little bit better. So that's in. EGR to fit. Yeah, cool. Let's get on this. Won't be long now. Another 10 minutes or so. There you go. Everything back together. As you can tell, it's got dark now. I didn't start this till late in the afternoon anyway, but it hasn't realistically taken too long. I'd say probably at max an hour and a half. The hardest bit was actually removing the bottom bolt from the alternator down there. That was a pain, and putting it back in was also a pain. The rest of it's straightforward. But yeah, I'd say you can probably remove this by taking the base unit off instead of taking the EGR valve off that first. You could probably do it that way, it'd probably be a bit easier. That's it. So just remember to tension your belt back up again. So I've already done that. So it's basically what you do is you've got your 10mm nut there. Make sure your 12 in there is a little bit loose, like a fraction loose. Nip up your 10 there until your belt's tight, nice and tight. Of course, we haven't removed this belt, but so everything should still be where it was, because nothing, I just slid it off the alternator and left it resting on the side, so everything should be good. And I will need a battery pack to start this, I think, because the battery was that flat. And that's it. So tools you need, basically you just need 12mm and 10mm sockets. I've got some ratchets, some spanners as well. I don't think I really needed them apart from to remove that one nut. But yeah, that flexi joint come in really handy. That one under there. That one there come in really handy to do that bottom bolt with those two massive extensions. The rest of it is straightforward. Relatively easy actually. But that bottom bolt is the only thing that took the time. So yeah, there we go. Let's go and see if this starts then. And hopefully that lights out, otherwise I'll be a little bit disappointed. Successes. It's worked. Charging fine. Battery light's out, which is good. So that's us done. I would recommend changing the aux belt if you can get one. I didn't. I regret that now because that one's a bit knackered looking. I probably should have put one on for the sake of about £11, whatever they are. If it lasts, it lasts. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Hopefully the engine won't be in here for too much longer. But yeah, so that was how to change an alternator on a Jazz, or the way I did it anyway. Right or wrong, someone might correct me if you want to. Please feel free. But yeah, that wasn't a pleasant job. I wouldn't rate that a good job. I wouldn't want to do that again. Ever, ever, ever. Thanks for watching.